This is Ohio Tonight from the Ohio News Network.
In Cleveland this weekend, find the true essence of the area. A lifetime Cleveland resident and photographer has been capturing Cleveland's landmarks for years.
Cleveland's skyline says many things to different people, but to artist Jim Ptacek, the message is a very personal one, which he lovingly translates through his collages and prints of Cleveland's past and present.
Jim Ptacek's pieces are mostly photographic images or collages that has been reproduced into anything from posters to postcards. His work can be found hanging on walls all over town.
Today we're talking to Jim Ptacek, architectural illustrator, photographer, and fine artist. My name is Rick Fortney, and on behalf of TrueNorth, Jim, welcome.
Thank you very much.
We've been blessed over the years to have you part of our TrueNorth gallery, and the people that come experience your visual snapshots on canvas, and they love everything you do. And throughout the next couple of minutes, we want to talk through your history and how you do what you do. So to begin with, where did you get your training?
Well, I didn't have any training in high school. I attended Cathedral Latin, and they dropped art when I started there. So I went on to the Art Institute for one program there, and I ended up at Cooper School of Art, where I majored in architectural illustration.
Excellent. And so you're a Cleveland native?
Yes, I grew up in Cleveland, west side of Cleveland.
West side of Cleveland, good. After Cooper School of the Art, what did you do?
Well, I was drafted, so I went in the service. I spent 2 years in the Army. I didn't go to Vietnam. I stayed stateside. And I was working with the post engineers at Fort Benjamin Harrison, so I was doing renderings and drawings of buildings on post.
When you got back from service, what was your first career in the arts?
I started working at Dalton & Dalton. It was an architectural firm. I was doing drafting there, but I was getting kind of bored with that. So I ended up going with United Cerebral Palsy. I was running the workshop at United Cerebral Palsy and designing silkscreen note cards and prints for the organization to sell.
Working there, did that have a dramatic effect in your life?
I learned quite a bit about silk screening, which I wasn't really too familiar with.
Ptacek has developed his own painstaking silk screening process, which takes up to 20 hours on the drawing board. He uses mostly his own 35mm photographs.
And I had the experience of working with the handicapped kids, and it was interesting because at the time I got married and our first son was coming along, and I realized how blessed we were.
When did you start getting involved with structural landmarks?
My first print was, I believe, of the Terminal Tower, but it all kind of started. I was riding with my wife through the flats of Cleveland, and I was pointing out some of the places that I worked. I worked on the tugboats back in the early '60s when I was going through art school. So my wife suggested maybe take some pictures of some of the things that I was telling her about. So I started doing that, taking pictures, and got started doing some prints, doing the prints that people related to, like the stadium and Terminal Tower and Cleveland landmarks. And then it just kind of took off from there.
Ptacek's inspiration comes from landmarks and images that are strictly our town, and the fruits of his labor can be found in homes and businesses all over northern Ohio.
Now I see your prints not only here at TrueNorth, but throughout Cleveland. And I think it's not only throughout Cleveland, but you're represented in many major cities throughout the country, aren't you?
Right. We like to go on vacations, so whenever I would go on vacation, I would take pictures, and if I thought it was, I would talk to some of the locals and ask them what their favorite buildings are or what the major landmark is, and then I would go take pictures of that. And then when I would come home, I would make the print and then show it to some of the galleries locally around here, or take it back to that city and find one gallery in that city that would carry that print.
Now they're called sepia?
Sepia.
Sepia.
It's like a brown tone print. It's kind of the old way that old photography looked when years ago. So I wanted the buildings to look kind of old.
Now, what is the process you go through to do that
Well,
as an artist?
Well, right now I take the picture, I photograph it, and then I make some inexpensive Xerox copies, and I just kind of work on it, clean it up a little bit, work up the design, cropping, and then try to come up with the way I would like it to look.
I understand you're also a silk screen artist.
Years ago when I started out by doing silkscreen prints, and they were quite labor intensive to do them, working with the screens. The screens were kind of temperamental, the inks were drying out, and for small editions, maybe an edition of 15, 20, 30, it was fine, but when you get up to doing 500 to 1,000, it got into be some problems in trying to get that many. And the fumes were bad, so there was a health issue too if you're working with that constantly breathing in the fumes. So after quite a few prints, I decided to go more into a lithograph printing, so I wouldn't have to deal with the fumes, and I could print 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, and I didn't have to deal with the inks drying out or anything like that. All I would have to do, the printer would print them, and then I would get them, and I could sign and number them, so it made things a lot easier.
Now, as we celebrate our rich history this month and reflecting on World War I, one thing that I saw in our gallery was, of course, your print of the Cleveland Veterans Memorial Bridge. And that's one reason that led me to have you as a featured artist for the month of May. Can you tell me the experience, what led up to the whole Veterans Memorial Bridge project and your involvement in that?
Okay, years ago I was working at the county engineers, and talking over with some of the fellow workers, we thought of the idea of changing the name of the Detroit Superior Bridge to the Veterans Memorial Bridge to honor the veterans. So we went through a whole process of trying to work with different military organizations, and we had meetings with the city, because you can't go changing a bridge name without having some problems. So we had a lot of meetings, and we came up with the name Veterans Memorial Bridge. And I designed a monument for the east end of the bridge, where I put a flag pole for each branch of the service, and then also a monument dedicating the bridge to the veterans. And at that time, we were able to close the bridge down, and we had a big ceremony changing the bridge. So we had a lot of old veterans from all the different branches of the service. They all came out, and each branch raised their flag for their branch of the service. And it was a nice occasion. So now the bridge is called the Veterans Memorial Bridge. So I feel very attached to that bridge. In fact, I had something to do with changing the name of the bridge, and also I've been doing a lot of prints. I have postcards with that print on, Christmas cards, and large prints.
Good. One of the large prints, that's one of my favorites because I work here at the Lorain County Metro Parks. You have the old Lakeview Park as a big print with the old boardwalk along Lake Erie.
Right. I did that quite a few years ago. I was out with the family on a Sunday, and I think we started on the east side at Euclid Beach and came all the way over to the west side, and I was walking around, and I took those pictures, and I had the old negatives, and it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I pulled those negatives out when I started dealing here and produced that as a print. And it jogs the memories of
it does. Also, your wonderful lighthouses. And one thing I love about the stadium is you have a piece of the stadium on a number of your prints.
Right. When they tore the old stadium down, that was I was able to get a piece of the stadium seat, and my father was able to slice it up into little, like 1 inch by 1.5 inch pieces, and I mounted those on a little white card saying "Piece of the Park," bleacher seat, and I got about 1,400 pieces out of that first piece of bench.
Oh, wow!
It really sold. ended up getting another piece. It's still a good seller. People really related to that old stadium and the memories that it brought back. So a lot of people are collecting that piece.
Now, I understand we've talked in the past about your Johnny Cash project. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Okay, my son lives in Nashville, and he got to be friends with the Cash family. So he was rebuilding the Cash cabin where Johnny Cash did his recordings. So one day when I was down there, he said, "Dad, why don't you take a picture of the cabin?" So we went there, we took a picture of it, and I went ahead and printed it, and he gave me a piece of wood from the porch, so I was able to cut that up just like it did with the stadium, and attached it to it, and I say Cash cabin, piece of the porch. And I gave it to the Cash family, and they were kind of excited about it. They hung it in their house, and then they recently called me and asked if it could be on the Johnny Cash website. So now it's being sold on the Johnny Cash website, and it's doing quite well.
In closing, why don't you tell us a little bit about your family?
Okay, I'm married to my wife, Therese. We're married, I believe, about 42 years now. We have 3 sons, Jim, and Joe, and David. And we have 4 grandchildren, Aaron, and Hope, and Cabe, and Mary Lauren.
Your work is displayed in municipal buildings and galleries throughout Cleveland, neighboring suburbs, as well as galleries in Chicago, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. We're honored to call you one of ours as well, and I hope people take the time in this room today to experience Jim's art, and I wish you could get to know him as a man as well. He's a very good man. I consider him a good friend, and the richness and beauty he brings to his art from local gems is amazing. So Jim, thank you, and we celebrate your art this month.
Thank you very
here
much.
Here at TrueNorth.
Thank you.
That it was something that other people relate to as much as I do. And my wife encouraged me to do some of these prints so that other people could enjoy them the way we do.